Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is James and welcome back to Soundline. Today I am very pleased to have with me and to be able to talk to you guys about the Rega Naia. This is a reference turntable from Rega. It's their absolute top of the line, best thing that they are currently producing. I've also got with me here the Planner 8, which will be useful in terms of showing you guys some of the construction differences between the 8, the 10 and the Naia. But before I get into those fine details, I need to tell you a wee bit of a story about the Naia and where it has come from. So strap in, I hope you enjoy this video, and yeah, let's get into it. So in around about 2010, Rega decided it's time for us to build Roy Gandy's dream turntable with the best materials, the best technologies that we have available to us today. So that's what they set out to do. It took 7 years of R&D for them to come out with this turntable, and they called it the Naiad. It is an absolute weapon of a turntable. They did manufacture and produce about 30 of them. They had over 200 hours of man-hour per turntable put into assembling the thing and making it. They ended up costing around about $70,000 back in 2017, or £30,000 in the UK, where I believe they were all sold. And it was exactly what they were hoping for. They got absolutely marvellous results from this best possible turntable they could possibly think of. It was a thing of beauty. But it wasn't commercially viable. You know, in order for them to make money on it, I suppose, with all the time it took for assembly and manufacturing, they had to mass produce them in order to make the numbers work, and it just wasn't going to sell. So out of that success, or at least concept success, was born the Planner 10. This is like their new top-of-the-line turntable that they are selling. And then, you know, after a good couple of years of success with the Planner 10, the CEO of Rega, Phil Freeman, said, we're not there yet. He picked up the Planner 10 and said, how can we possibly make this better? Wasn't going to be a ground-up design, so it wasn't going to have tons of, you know, man-hours put into designing a new concept turntable. They looked at the 10 and said, what can we possibly do to this turntable to make it better? And from that is where we wound up with the Naia. Now, in terms of the actual construction of the Naia, I can just go straight into the details about what this is made of, but I think it would make it easier for you guys if I explain maybe not just what this is, but what makes it special, right, compared to, say, the 10 and the 8. When you're upgrading from model to model, you see differences in little construction elements between the 8, the 10, and the Naia. For instance, the platter changes. When you go from the 8 to the 10, it changes from glass to ceramic, which is this material here. And when you go from the 10 to the Naia, the shape of the platter changes, where the 10 is just a standard machined disc kind of with hard edges. The Naia, they spent a lot more time really honing in and developing the shape of this platter. The idea behind the shape, is that they do still want it to be low mass, but they want it to have a really good moment of inertia so that it has low wow and flutter and resistance to change in angular velocity. So they made this really, it's hard to see on camera, but it's a smooth dished shape, like a dinner plate really, and all of the mass is towards the outside of the platter and very, very thin in the middle. So that's what they did with the platter. The subplatter is different as well. The 8 and the 10 have just a standard aluminium, a machined aluminium circular subplatter. With the Naia, they again employed the same principle, made it as low mass as possible by removing pieces of mass from the subplatter, but still having as much mass as possible towards the outside. So this subplatter is actually bigger than that one in terms of overall diameter, but it's lighter. They also improved the bracing elements. The 8 has, 2 aluminium top and bottom braces. The 10 has 1 aluminium, 1 ceramic, and then the Naia has both top and bottom braces ceramic. Those braces are really important for making the relationship between the rotation point of the record and the pivot point of the tone arm locked in place and rigid, so that the cartridge always lines up exactly the right position on the record. So they've improved those bracing elements. You'll also probably notice, you might be able to pick it on camera, on the Naia, the skin of the plinth is carbon fiber. The 8 and the 10 use their standard, I think it's like a specific polymer that they use for sandwiching the Tancastate foam. The Naia, they've gone all in and used carbon fiber. Everyone knows how great carbon fiber is for for strength to weight ratio. It's incredibly light, incredibly rigid. Looks pretty cool as well. Some other small wee details between them as well, like, you know, when you go from the 10 up to the Naia, you get triple belt as opposed to double that you see on the 8 and the 10. The extra belt just provides extra grip from the motor on the subplatter, therefore more torque on the platter, which tends to, in most turntables cases, give you much stronger and more defined bass. They've also done everything they possibly can to make the feet as light as possible. The feet on the Naia are machined and hollowed out aluminium feet as well, which is really cool, where on the 10 and the 8, they just have these standard rubber feet. Still great feet, but this, again, the Naia, they're going all in, trying to do everything they possibly can to make the system as light and strong as possible. The tone arm is different. It is based off of the RB3000 tone arm that comes on the Planner 10, but it is called the RB Titanium. So it is a titanium vertical shaft for additional strength and lower mass, and then the counterweight and support shaft is tungsten, so smaller but more dense. The power supplies are all slightly different. There's not a lot I can really tell you about power supplies other than the 8 comes with the Neo, the 10 comes with the big boy 10 power supply, and the Naia comes with a reference power supply which looks exactly the same. Even down to really tiny little small things like the little, I guess, top washers or top braces that they use for mounting the motor to the plinth have been improved on the Naia. They've got these awesome machined aluminium sort of like stands that the motor supports itself on, where on the 10 and on the 8 they are just standard plastic washers. So they've done everything they can to take the P10 and improve it to its maximum performance without having to redesign the entire thing. The carbon fiber sandwich, the better subplatter, the ceramic top and bottom bracing, the improved shape ceramic platter, the titanium tone arm with the tungsten counterweight, the lightweight machined hollowed out aluminium feet, the improved power supply. They have taken the 10 and absolutely maximized it for low mass, high accuracy, high rigidity, and it results in an absolutely stunning sounding turntable that does justify the difference in cost. So, speaking of justifying the difference in cost, let's talk about sound. Circumstance has prevented me from being able to listen to the Naia directly against the 10, but I have heard the 10. I've heard the 10 and I've heard the 8. I've heard the Naia and the 8 together, both with the same cartridge on it, so I've got a fairly good understanding of the differences between all the different models. But thought I'd better just clarify, I haven't actually been able to do a Pepsi shootout between the Naia and the 10. So talking about the 8 and the 10 first, we'll get to the Naia in a second. The biggest real difference as you improve all of those elements on that turntable from one to the other with the same cartridge is it's really noticeable improvement in dynamic range and bass resolution. The noise floor is lower, which, I mean, I've said this in other videos, the lower the noise floor, the more you are able to perceive small fine details, and also the really deep bass. Deep bass is often lost in the noise floor, like that infrasonic sub bass sort of stuff at very low levels is often lost below the noise floor of the system. So having a lower noise floor on the 10 compared to the 8 means you're able to perceive those really deep, strong notes that are down there, but just sometimes lost in the mix. So yeah, much better quality bass. Now, as I said, didn't get to listen to the 10 against the Naia, but I did listen to the 8 against the Naia, and I used the Aphelion cartridge on it, which I just love so much. It's such a good sounding cartridge. It's just literally night and day. One is black, one is white. It couldn't be more perfect. Night and day. When I listened to the 8, I was really happy with the way it sounded. I said, yep, that's a great sounding sound system. Put the Naia on and I just about fell over backwards. The speakers completely vanished. I didn't realize just how much I was hearing the speakers before until I put the Naia on, and then the speakers disappeared from sight. The soundstage, I'm not even kidding, wrapped around me. I was listening to Roger Waters' Amused to Death, which has got some really cool soundstaging elements put in the mix, and the soundstage was way out past the width of the room. Some elements were even sounding like they were starting to come from behind me. It was incredibly deep. There was no noise floor. It was just dead silent when there was nothing playing, and when the sound came in, it was just pure, smooth, organic. The clarity in my testing, since I used the same cartridge, the clarity and resolution didn't change as much because it's the same pickup device, but the way it presented the information going from one turntable to the other with its different construction components made it present it just so much more immersively. The best way I can describe it is like, it was like having a surround sound system but built to the standards of hi-fi, which is the dream that doesn't really exist that we've come across yet. Turntables like this are very hard to describe, sound systems like this are very hard to describe on YouTube and really convey just how good they do sound unless you get to hear them for yourselves, which is probably my next point. I invite you, if you're in Christchurch, please come down and have a listen to this turntable, because it is honestly out of this world. I know it's expensive, but come and have a listen to it anyway. It is just gorgeous sounding. Yeah, that's all I've really got to say about it today, guys. It's a great turntable. Come listen to it. I'll catch you in the next video, and I hope you've enjoyed this one. Ka kite anō.